Powers, and this is my interpersonal communication project, HSCO 508. Interpersonal communication. Stewart defined interpersonal communication as a type or kind of communication that happens when the people involved talk and listen in ways that maximize the presence of the personal. There are two parts to communication: inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling involves perception and listening. In perception and listening, people make sense out of the world from their perception. A good listener is someone who is mindful of the wide spectrum of listening skills, which include accurate receiving, retaining information, sustaining attention, attending to your own speech, and encouraging the person you are listening to. In the text, Why Don't We Listen Better?, Peterson says learning to listen will encourage talkers to invite you into their lives. In exhaling, it involves expressing and disclosing. When expressing yourself in conversation, your main goal should be clarity. Start talking about matters that mean the most and don't allow any room for guessing. Always ask them to paraphrase what you said back to them to see if they understand, and always ask if they understand the situation or have any questions about the situation. Communication is an integral part of life. Without it, we would not survive. Verbal and nonverbal communication begins at birth and ends at death. We need communication not only to transmit information and knowledge to one another, but more importantly, to relate to one another as human beings around the world in the context of relationships, families, organizations, and nations. Interpersonal communication, the flat brain theory of emotions. Peterson described how our body systems corresponds with our communication. He described the heart, the stomach, and the head. The stomach is where we hold our feelings, our sadness, happiness, when we're irritable, excited. Our heart is where we hold our truth. It gives and receives our concerns and opinions. And the head is where we think, plan, we remember, we process what we see, feel, and hear. My overarching goal is to communicate with others without being stereotypical and to learn to put my perceptions aside to listen effectively. Enlarging the conversation. Be a patient listener. Do not interrupt. Ask open and clarifying questions and rephrase the speaker's words. Enlarging the conversation. Peterson compared a capable listener to a midwife. A midwife helps birth their feelings and thoughts. Midwifing or listening takes skill and patience, but in the end, it's very worth it. My background. I'm a female. I'm the baby in the family. I'm from a small town. I'm independent. I'm a hard worker, and I'm quiet. My behavioral blend. There are 4 types of personalities, and it's called the DISC model. And the D is active task-oriented, the I is active people-oriented, S is passive people-oriented, and C is passive task-oriented. These types are blended together to form our unique personalities. My behavioral blend is the CIS. This is what is expected of me: to be more sensitive and submissive, blend in with the crowd, reserved, and I'm not outwardly friendly. And this is me. I'm passive. I can either be the life of the party or the quiet one. I prefer peace and harmony, and I like to influence and interact with people. These are some of the positive things about my personality and the negative or the less things about my personality. The positive things is that I'm positive, friendly, loyal, organized, and compliant. And I'm less firm, persistent, protective, powerful, and challenging. My barriers. I often stop listening because I am too focused on the appearance of the talker. When I am being judgmental, the way I listen depends on my judgment. I hear what I want to hear. Dealing with my barriers. I need to remember that everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I do not have to agree, but I need to focus on what they are saying rather than judge. I need to focus on positive perceptions. Listen from the heart. Be respectful. Remember that being judgmental is a reflection of the person who I am as a person. Become interested in the conversation by asking questions. Noise pollution. There's two types of noise pollution. It's internal and external. Internal is biased. The message is boring. You think that the message is unimportant, or you're anxious for the person just to get to the point. Physical pollution is fatigue or personal problems. You have a whole lot going on in your life and you just don't want to listen to the other person. Emotions. What the other person is talking about, the topic might cause anger or confusion. External is loud noises, phone calls, your cell phone going off, activity around you, and trying to multitask while listening. Solution to the noise pollution. Maintain eye contact. Ask questions if topic is confusing. Relax. Listen without judging or jumping to conclusions. Acknowledge the speaker with facial expressions and nodding your head. Try to talk in a quiet place with less distractions. Listening. Attention to the message is affected not only by the listener's working memory system, but also by the listener's perceptual filter. The perceptual filter serves to screen the stimulus so that one's predispositions alter the message received. The listener's background, experience, roles, and mental and physical states make up this filter and shape the listener's expectations for the messages being presented. Studies suggest that the louder, the more relevant, and the more novel the stimuli, and the more likely they are to be perceived by the listener. My action plan. Calm my racing mind. Put my perceptions and judgments aside. Listen from the heart without being judgmental. Focus on the speaker and their words and listen with my total being. Thank you.